Okay. All right, guys. So we're just going to listen. We're going to put this out there, which I usually would not want to put any type of like private business public. But this was something that was brought all over Twitter, something that was made a spectacle of. And it's kind of old news in the sense that like Xena and Sneako broke up, but there was a whole issue with a girl, Lauren De La Grina is her name, right? Where she was essentially saying that due to this lady here and what she witnessed with her eyeballs from this lady here, she was able to definitively say that number one, Xena was unhappy, and number two, Sneako was an abuser. So what I found very interesting after speaking to her very briefly is that, I mean, Sneako maybe flirted with you a little bit, right?
I didn't even really take it as that, to be honest. Okay. So basically, I was on the Fresh and Fit podcast with Zerka, Sneako, and Xena had invited me on the show. And I was on there with Lauren. That was my first time ever meeting her. Super sweet girl. She lives pretty close to me in Orange County. And basically during the show, I was over on like the little couch area. So I couldn't even really see Sneako during it. I saw Zerka. He was talking the whole time, whatever. And
it's hard to miss.
Yeah, pretty hard to miss. And afterwards, a big group of us had gone to sushi. And so when we were at sushi, there was like an open spot next to Sneako, like right across from him. And so he started speaking to me. He ordered me some sushi. And basically he was asking me if I wanted to be on his stream. And so Xena, when she told me to come on the podcast, had already mentioned that to me. Would you like to be on some like big streamers streams, like give you promo, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And I know streamers, like they want like girls to be on there, you know, for more views and stuff. So I took it as like a business thing. And I was like, yeah, I might be down. And then so when he brought it up, I was like, oh, you're the guy she was talking about.
Right, 2 and 2 were clicking. Yeah. You were like, okay, let's go.
No idea that they had any sort of relationship. You know, I was just sitting there making conversation.
Right.
And so Lauren was supposed to give me a ride home. She had offered to drive me home and my friend home, who I was staying with, but she just got kicked off the show. So she felt awkward eating sushi with everyone. So Lauren ended up driving her home and then coming back to take me home. And basically Sneako was like, do you need a ride home? And I was like, well, you know, like she was going to take me and Lauren was looking at me like, go with him. And so I was like, okay, I don't really care. It's 3 minutes down the street. Like, what does it matter? You know, like maybe this is like a good person to know. Like I work in social media. I do YouTube. We were talking about my channel, all business stuff. Like I really didn't think of it as more than that. And I'm not even sure it was.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, okay, like we were ready to leave. I was like, I have to use the restroom. He waited for me to use the restroom. And during this time, and see, I don't like know if I'm saying too much. Like, I don't know.
No, you're not.
This is just the truth. This is literally just exactly what happened.
Right, and everyone's been waiting for you because we've heard everything from Lauren. We've heard everything from other people sharing their stuff and wanting to have a say, yet we've never heard it from the horse's mouth, which is why this is so important that you actually say this right now. You know, I think it's very important to let the truth come to light.
Yeah, and so when I was sitting there, like right after he'd asked, like, do I need a ride home? And then I went to the restroom. I was like checking my Instagram, and Xena was messaging me, and she was like, you're my friend. Like, she was like mad at me or something. And I was like, what is she talking about? Like, I don't understand. And basically, like right before this had happened, like she had like left the restaurant, and I think she was crying. She was upset. I didn't really know what was going on. I had no idea that had anything to do with Sneako. Sure. And so like 2 and 2 did not click when she had DM'd me, whatever. I was just like, okay, you know, what is she talking about? And before the show started, she had asked my friend and I, who got kicked off, if we could mention that like she put us on the podcast. But there was like 15 girls on the panel. I honestly forgot when I was introducing myself. So I was like, oh, is she upset that like I didn't like shout her out or something? Like I didn't know.
No. It's just that they're all promoters. So that's kind of just like the standard thing. It wasn't anything like that.
So when she was like, oh, I thought you were my friend, or like, you're my
friend.
It
was about that.
Yeah. I didn't know that was like her man, you know? And I literally did not take it more as like a ride home. And she was the one who told me about his stream and everything. And so,
thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
And so, yeah. And then also I was thinking like, oh, maybe when he invited me to be on the stream, I wasn't like clarifying, oh, Xena told me about this. Like, I didn't know, like, I was like, that's the only reason I could think she would be like upset in any way. Right. So I was confused. And then I almost like wanted to asked Sneako when we were going to get in his car for him to drive me home, because I didn't really know her that well. Like, this is my first time meeting both of them. But I just kind of like brushed it off for a sec, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll like write her back when I get home. I have no idea like why she's upset or like what this is about. Like, it was unclear. So then Sneako's waiting for me outside the bathroom. I get out, and then I walk out with him, and Xena's like, she's sitting on the back of someone's truck, and she's clearly upset. Like, I think she had been crying, whatever. And I go to give her a hug goodbye, and I was like, thank you so much for having me on the show. You know, it was so great meeting you, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, that's my boyfriend. And I was like, oh my God, okay, I'm not gonna let him give me a ride home then. Like, clearly you're upset. Like, I don't know what's going on. And then basically Lauren was there because, you know, she was gonna give me a ride home first.
Right, so she was waiting.
Yeah, she was kind of like lingering basically. And so then Lauren was like, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. And then Sneako had like walked ahead of me, and he was like waiting for me by his car. And then so from like across the way, I didn't get in his car. I wasn't even near his car. I was like, hey, I'm sorry. Like, I'm going to let her give me a ride. And I think he could tell it was because Xena was upset. Like, she had clearly said something to me, which she didn't say much. I was just like, I'm a girl's girl. Like, if there's any amount of like uncomfortability, like he doesn't need to give me a ride. Like, it's not that big of a deal. I could literally Uber if I needed to.
Right.
And so I basically didn't get in the car. He did not give me a ride. That was that. And then Lauren took me home as well as like another girl. And then when we were leaving, like, she tried to get Xena to come in the car because she was upset, and Xena was just kind of like, I need my space. Like, I'm fine. Like, I'm just having a moment.
I'm good.
Yeah. Like, you know, I don't really think they knew each other. And then I got dropped off, and then from there, whatever had happened with Xena and Lauren, if they had hung out, talked, whatever, I have no idea. Xena did message me afterwards saying sorry, apologizing. She was like, you know, I was just being emotional. You did nothing wrong. I think it's a really good business opportunity. You honestly should go on Sneako's stream, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I'm starting to realize like who Zerka and Sneako are in the whole space and everything. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but like, I didn't know if it was going to be drama. So I ended up just basically not doing it regardless, even though she gave me the okay. And then a couple weeks go by or whatever. And then all this stuff starts breaking out on Twitter saying that, and I mean, I think sounds like she would know more than me at this point because she was actually responding to the tweets. Xena did message me, and she was like, will you say something? But I didn't want to be put in the middle because like Lauren lives near me, and like she was really nice to me. And like, I didn't know what happened after I had left, you know, but allegedly she was saying that like she had to pull me out of the car.
She said she said she dragged you out of the car.
Yeah, I never got in his car.
Something along those lines. And was literally saying that like that whole incident was a clear reflection of the fact that it was an abusive relationship, this, that, and the other. And, you know, ultimately, like my perception of the whole thing, and I could be entirely wrong. In fact, Lauren and I, we're going to debate on this. We're going to go on a public podcast and have a conversation. Yeah, but I literally think, number one, inserting yourself in people's personal business is like, what's your incentive? What's your motive, number one? But then number two, at the end of the day, all the stuff that she was claiming is reaching. Like, she was really fucking reaching with all that at the end of the day. Because, number one, you said you aren't 100% sure that Sneako was even hitting on you.
I didn't take it like that.
It could have been construed like that. Number two, you did not get dragged out of the car. And number three, there wasn't anything about Sneako or Xena's relationship you construed as abusive at the time, right?
I didn't even know they were in a relationship.
Exactly. So,
and I mean, he bought me a sushi and he was nice to me and offered me a ride. But like, to me, you know, I would be doing something to help him on his stream, get viewers, like be a hot girl,
and also
whatever.
they're in an open relationship, so it's fine.
Yeah. And also being from LA, I feel like a lot of things are like, you know, people have their benefits and like people
am I
are
a
open.
party to this gossiping?
Am
I going to get in trouble for
Oh no, I don't think so.
For platforming this conversation, I don't know. But okay, so did you guys kind of
we pretty much wrapped
most
it
of
up.
it out
We're
there?
good, yeah.
Okay, all right. So a couple questions here for the after show, and then we're gonna